It was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. June 3rd, 2012, a Sunday wrapped in warm sunlight, the kind that feels handpicked by fate. The town of Willow Creek hadn't seen such a wedding in years. Guests from 3 counties were invited. Even the bakery opened early just to finish Amelia Thornton's lemon rose wedding cake, her favorite. The church bells had been cleaned. The chore had rehearsed her mother's favorite hymn. The air buzzed with joy and expectation. Amelia was radiant that morning. She had breakfast with her bridesmaids, laughed too loud at a joke only she understood, and gave her mother a necklace, the same one her grandmother wore on her wedding day in 1957. Her father, Charles Thornton, kissed her on the forehead and whispered, "You're my greatest joy always." The dress was ivory, lace sleeves, no veil. She hated veils. Daniel Holloway, her fiance, waited in the church with palms swaying inside his suit pockets. He wasn't a nervous man. Years in the fire service had taught him how to stay calm and choose. But this wasn't chaos. This was a dream that never finished. The ceremony was set for 4:00 p.m. By 3:45, Amelia had come down from the bridal suite. Her maid of honor, Jen, went to check. The room was quiet. The dress was hanging. Her shoes were gone, her purse untouched. Her phone on the table, still on airplane mode. A cup of tea, half drunk. A note. Now, not even a scribble. Security footage, if you could call it that, from the church's back garden showed a flicker of white, a blur passing through the archway that led to the creek trail, and then black. That was the last time anyone ever saw Amelia Grace Thornton alive. The days that followed were a nightmare no one woke up from. Search parties come to the woods. Dogs sniffed up and down the old logging trails. Volunteers waded through creeks and drainage tunnels. Helicopters circled until their fuel ran dry. Daniel led most of the searches himself. He didn't speak. He just walked and walked for days. Rumors surfaced like oil in still water. Amelia ran away. Amelia was pregnant. Amelia had found someone else. Amelia had cold feet. Amelia was murdered. Some even said she never existed, that she was a dream, a ghost, a story made up by a grieving town. But those who knew her, truly knew her, believed something else. She wouldn't have run, Jen told the sheriff. She was so sure. She said Daniel made her feel safe, like home in human form. The case went cold. Daniel moved away in 2014, sold the house they were building together, quit the department, changed his number. His mother said he stopped talking about Amelia entirely, as if saying her name aloud would make the emptiness sharper. Time passed. Willow Creek forgot out loud, and remembered in silence. Amelia's parents moved to Florida in 2017. Her high school classroom was repainted. The church was renovated. People married in the same pews, with the same organ, pretending not to feel the shadow of something unfinished. Then came May 17, 2022. A boy named Caleb, 11 years old, fishing alone with his dog Duke, pulled something from the shallow of Willow Creek. It caught the sunlight like a signal. A ring, silver, floral engraved. One emerald in the center, small but unmistakable. The local jeweler confirmed it within hours. It was custom made. No duplicate. Inside the band, in Amelia's handwriting etched by the jeweler himself, were the words, "In another life, still you." Within 2 days, the case was reopened. Cadaver dogs were brought in. Old logs rechecked. A new dev team was deployed. This time, they didn't search by hope, they searched by direction. On June 9th, beneath the collapsed roots of an ancient willow tree, searchers found bone fragments Reddites of fabric, a broken heel, and a gold locket filled with dried rose petals. Dental records confirmed it. It was Amelia. The medical examiner's report was sobering. Blunt force trauma to the side of the skull, likely from a fall. No defensive wounds, no droops, no signs of full play. She had likely wandered off alone, maybe overwhelmed, maybe lost in thought, maybe just needing a breath before saying I do. The old willow, known to locals as the weeping tree, had long been unstable. Its roots tangled near a drop into the creek. One misstep, one turn of her heel, that's all it took. She hadn't run. She had vanished on purpose. She had fallen hidden just out of sight, as the town searched only steps away. Her funeral was held exactly 10 years after her wedding day was supposed to happen. Daniel came back. He stood in the same church in the same suit, now slightly faded with time. She was lost, he said quietly. She just got stuck between two moments, and we all missed her because we were running too fast. No one clapped. No one cried loud. It was the kind of grief that sits in the throat, not the eyes. After the service, Daniel placed her ring in a glass case, with a note beside it, to the girl who never made it down the aisle, but never left my side. That summer, the town planted a new willow tree by the creek. They called it Amelia's tree. Every year since, white ribbons are tied to its branches, and when the wind moves just right, the tree hums like it's remembering something, or someone. The last morning, the air that morning had a strange stillness to it, not the kind that brings peace, but the kind that makes birds quiet, as if nature knows something before the rest of us do. June 3rd, 2012, Willow Creek, South Carolina. Amelia Grace Thornton woke before sunrise, hours before the ceremony. Alone, her bridesmaids were asleep upstairs in her parents' lake house, tucked in water from the night before, but Amelia was restless. She always had been. Even as a child, she used to sneak out during storms, just to feel the rain on her arms. She said silence felt too loud in her head. That morning she made tea with lavender and honey, and stepped out onto the dock barefoot. The lake was mirror still. Her reflection looked older, wiser, scared, maigre, or just thoughtful. Inside the house, her wedding dress was already hung by the window, a soft ivory sheath dress with laced sleeves, chosen months ago. She had tried on 27 dresses. This one made her cry. Her mother, Elaine, came downstairs just after 6:38, surprised to see Amelia already awake. "You okay, baby?" she asked. "I'm not nervous," Amelia replied. "I just can't stop thinking about Daniel, about everything." They sat in silence, sipping tea. Her mother didn't push. Amelia was never good with small talk on big days. By 10 a.m., the house came alive. Hairspray, curling irons, water, makeup brushes clinking, bridesmaids gushed over earrings, and her cousin played soft piano versions of love songs on the living room speaker. There were pennies on the kitchen table, handwritten place cards. Her father pacing nervously in his undershirt, reading and rereading his speech. Daniel Holloway, meanwhile, was already at the church, 3 miles away. He had arrived early as usual, checked the flower arrangements, made sure the sound system worked, double-checked the vows he had written by hand folded in his wallet since January. He didn't trust typed ones, said they felt like scripts. Daniel didn't like anything that felt faked. He had shaved too close that morning, and a small cut on his jaw refused to stop bleeding. His best man, Marcus, kept teasing him. "You look like you're about to save a burning orphanage, not get married." Daniel grinned, but his mind wasn't in the jokes. He kept checking his watch. kept rereading the vows. Back at the lake house, around 1:30 p.m., something changed. Amelia had been quiet all morning, but now her bridesmaids noticed a strange stillness. Her eyes would lock onto empty space. She answered questions late. She smiled, but not the kind that touches the eyes. Jen, her maid of honor and childhood friend, whispered to her in the hallway, "You okay? You're scaring me a little." Amelia nodded. "I'm just thinking about what comes next." "You mean marriage?" "No. I mean everything." At 3:15 p.m., the photographer captured her final portrait in her dress. She looked beautiful, hauntingly so. A soft wind had lifted her veilless hair just enough to make it seem like she was moving, even when she wasn't. By 3:35, she was supposed to be in the car heading to the church, but she wasn't. Instead, she was seen, or thought to be seen, walking barefoot in the backyard garden, holding her heels in her hand, the back of her dress dragging through the grass. One of the neighbors saw her from their upstairs window and mentioned it to police days later. She didn't look sad, the woman said. She looked like she was trying to hear something, like listening to a memory. When Jen came to get her at 3:40, Amelia was gone. Her shoes were gone. Her teacup was empty. Her phone was left charging. Her purse untouched. The door was slightly ajar. A single envelope sat on the vanity. Inside was a note, not handwritten, just an old poem, printed from her laptop. "Some say love is a resting place. Some say love is a burning flame. I say love is a mirror we fall into and lose our name." That poem would become the center of weeks of investigation. Daniel waited at the altar until 4:23 p.m. The church was full. People had started whispering. Children grew restless. The organist repeated the same instrumental loop 4 times, and then 5, and then stopped. At 4:41, Jen whispered to the priest, "We can't find her." At 5:03 p.m., the guests were told, gently, to return home. Daniel didn't move. By sunset, police were notified, and just before midnight, Daniel drove alone to the edge of the woods behind the lake house, sat on a bench they had built together 3 summers ago. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. But when he returned, his hands were covered in dirt. What he was digging for, no one knows. That was the beginning of a search that would last 10 years. The ring in the mud, May 17, 2022. 10 years later, Willow Creek had long since stopped whispering Amelia's name. Time had turned her from a tragedy to a myth. New families moved in, unaware of the wedding that never happened. The old church was painted over. The paper mill near the woods had shut down years ago. Kids played by the creek without thinking twice. That day, 11-year-old Caleb Mears was playing by the water with his dog. The summer had come early, and the creek was unusually low. While chasing a frog, his dog stopped and barked at something shiny embedded in the mud. It was a ring, delicate, silver with an emerald, floral engraving. Inside it read, "In another life, still you." He showed it to his mother. She froze. By that evening, the ring was confirmed. It belonged to Amelia. The news spread like wildfire. Local reporters came back. Podcasts reopened the case. Reddit threads reignited. And Daniel? He returned. The search reopens. Daniel Holloway hadn't been back to Willow Creek since 2014. He looked different now, bird thicker, eyes tired, voice quieter. He had moved to Colorado, worked odd jobs, and rarely spoke of Amelia. But the ring changed everything. Sheriff Rowland, now semi-retired, reopened the case. Forensics teams began scanning the area near the creek. Ground-penetrating radar, cadaver dogs. They found an old boot heel, a rusted hair clip, A broken chain, the kind Amelia used to wear. Then, on June 9th, under the collapsed roots of an old willow tree, they found human remains. Dental records confirmed it. It was Amelia. She had died just hours after disappearing, likely due to blunt force trauma from a fall. No signs of struggle. No toxins. No clothing damaged. No signs of being chased. She had wandered off alone, maybe overwhelmed, maybe lost in thought, and slipped. The willow tree roots had hidden her for a decade. Case closed. But not quite. The letter, after the funeral, Amelia's mother, now in Florida, sent a box to Daniel. It had been in their attic all these years, labeled, "Amelia keep forever." Inside were journals, letters, sketches, and a sealed envelope. Daniel hesitated, then opened it. "Daniel, if you're reading this, I either changed my mind or fate made the choice for me. I never doubted you. Not once. But something inside me felt broken. I kept dreaming I was walking down the aisle, but no one was there. Not you. Not even me. I felt invisible. Like my life was written by someone else's hand. I went for a walk that morning. I didn't plan to disappear, but part of me didn't want to be seen either. If I don't return, know that I loved you, truly. But I had to find myself before I became someone's forever." Daniel held the letter for a long time. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just placed it back in the box and closed it. The whisper beneath the willow, locals say sometimes, when the wind moves just right through the willow trees, it sounds like a woman humming. One summer evening, Daniel returned to the tree where she had fallen. He sat on the bench they had built all those years ago. He whispered, "I was always waiting for you. Maybe you were waiting for yourself," and left her ring beneath the roots. The town built a small plate nearby. "In another life, still you." Amelia Grace Thornton, 1984-2012. The quiet truth: there was no murderer, no secret lover, no scandal. Just a woman lost in thought who stepped 1 inch too far. And the world misunderstood that silence for mystery, because sometimes the most haunting stories are the ones where nothing happened except a heart that was too full and a moment too quiet to stop it from breaking.